Because every film looks like a first film. You still don't know how to go about it. You still don't know. You have a vague idea of what you want, but you have no clue how to reach.
And I think that one song has created more directors than most film institutes.
It was summer and we're shooting in these stone caves. And if you see that song again, you'll actually see some of the dancers' shoes, the rubber melt off onto the stone.
It's a poem, it's a ballad, it's so much more. It's written like a scene, it's written like a, but it plays out almost like a song.
See, when you finish a day's shoot and you're driving back in the car, you can think of half a dozen mistakes that you have done, which you could have done better.
Thank you for everybody who's sitting down. We knew that we were going to get a house full, and we anticipated little more than house full. But this is incredible, and obviously it's all because of the man on stage, Mr. Mani Ratnam. They've all asked me, what is the open forum? I have no idea, but I'm opening the open forum. So Prathyush, go for it.
This 2.5-day exercise in showing your films must seem really silly to you because you don't like watching your own films. You don't watch them again. But can you tell me about your relationship to the memories of these films? Do you feel nostalgic ever for the Mani Ratnam of the 90s, the Mani Ratnam of the 2000s?
See, when you finish a day's shoot and you're driving back in the car, you can think of half a dozen mistakes that you have done, which you could have done better, and to have all of them after 20, 30 years back to back here, it's really not fair. It's really not fair at all. I think, I don't know what G5A has against me. I know Bejoy is very angry with me, so this is a revenge that he's taking. So anyway, I think I'll have to... It's very difficult to, think what it was like in the first film, what it was like. Because every film looks like a first film. You still don't know how to go about it. You still don't know. You have a vague idea of what you want, but you have no clue how to reach for it. So you struggle, and the struggle still continues. Actually, when I did my first film, I thought I had no previous experience. I just jumped in. I thought I learned to swim, And I told myself that one film I'll learn everything, and then I'll show, And that never happened. It's still there, right there.
Is there no nostalgia at all then?
Yeah, the nostalgia comes with the other side also. You see, all regrets and all the mistakes and all the flaws and what could have been better, So it's good to that you have and worked with a lot of people, worked and we've shared. I think it's really an enjoyable pain, That's why you go through it again and again. And it is, if you have the team, with whom you share and with whom you search for something which is abstract, then it becomes all memorable, and it is every film carries something close to you.
And speaking of team, we have gathered your team on stage. The point of this open forum was actually to all of them. So yesterday and today, two things that came up. One was the way you shoot scenes. It's what Vasan Bala called yesterday the economy, the emotional precision, and sometimes the way you just lift it off. It's not just Manisha Koirala saying she's pregnant to Arvind Swamy. There's also a pressure cooker that's going on in the background. It's not just, Bira speaking of his affections to Ragini, also putting him on a boat and it's spinning. So you lift a scene off. And the second thing is the music. There's this nonchalant beauty with which you just shoot songs, and it just swings by the film. So I want to start with a basic question, and then all of them will pick one scene or song. And the question is, what is your relationship with music? Because you said something really ridiculous in an interview. You said you begin all your films with the hope that you won't need any music in it. And yet. So, from 1983, Pallavi Anupallavi, to film like Bombay, where music keeps rupturing the surface so playfully every now and then, to film like Chakkacha Vandavana, where music is just in the background. Can you talk about how your relationship to music has changed over the decades?
Yeah, I think the audience have changed. I think the demand for music on film has changed drastically from that time. When the early days, it was necessary to make a mainstream cinema. You need to have certain number of songs, in my first film, I had done songs we shot it basically like a montage kind of a thing. And at the end of the film, I thought that I'll never do a montage again, I thought, you're having a song. Why are you being ashamed of it? Why are you hiding behind making it look natural? It is not natural. The song is a celebration, So, but I didn't know how to go about it. The next one had dance sequence. I had no clue how to shoot a dance sequence. So I had to study all the old ones. I studied Gurdat to Ramesh Sippy, to everyone. And then you go in and try to get hold of it. You get into conflict with the choreographer. And so it all comes like that. It is a gradual process. And I think with music, I think it's been, you have Ilayaraja on one hand and you have A.R. Rahman on the other side. So I didn't have to do much about that at all. Absolutely none. I mean, they were just too brilliant and two extremes. So it's fantastic. I mean, the entire credit is theirs. I just sit and grab.
And now for the revenge, all of them are going to pick a scene from your filmography or a song, and we're going to take you through that moment, that scene. What is it? I mean, we're just talking to Victor right now about how a lot of this is instinctual. You can't reverse engineer what you've produced. You can't reverse engineer your prolific filmography across 5 languages, multiple genres, multiple decades. But we'll try. So, Bejoy, do you want to start? Victor? Oh, wow, okay.
Hey, it's your revenge, yeah? Actually, well, we've probably spoken about it privately, but the 2 songs which keep coming back in my life as part of each playlist of mine when I'm writing or trying to see is Kehna Hi Kya and Tu Hi Re. There is something in Tu Hi Re, there's something tremendously, it seems to be a painful sort of a lament and a longing, and yet it's so beautiful. And we met Rajeev earlier, and I asked him about Bakel and whether the rain was real and whatever. So he took us down that path. So those are the 2. I mean, there are 2 songs which for me come immediately with the mention of money. In terms of scene, we've already spoken about the scene. That is our joyous scene in Guru, which is the climax. A brief scene which Abhishek nailed very quickly. And but those songs, Mani, and Kehna Hi Kya especially, the communication of the dialogue between the 2 characters, of this boy who's looking for her, the girl who knows that there is someone looking. And then in the middle of all that, you've got these 5 burly kawals who are like belting their life away. So how does that come about?
Actually, for the Tu Hi Re situation, was what he had done, Kehna Hai, But with Rahman, he doesn't do necessarily, for a particular thing. He just goes with the feel, with the theme of the film, and looks for music within that. So he had done this, and by the time I got the tune from him and I was driving back home, I was in love with the tune. So went back to him and asked him, so suppose I use this for the wedding song. Can you give me something more? We'll keep this as the base level. Now let's see whether we can get more. And it took us a long time. It took Rahman I mean, he worked on it for 3 months. Worked on it means he's just thinking about it. And then he came up with this. He says, I have something, I think, with, and then we went to his studio with that, and he was kind of playing that, and it was something else. It was, the brief was really an S.D. Burman boat song kind of and the way we made Hariharan sing also was more or less in that tone, to get that kind of a feel. And I think the way Kehna developed was something which is, I mean, it's a magic to see him work, in a studio. We have the tune, we have the lyrics written, and then he comes there and there are these singers that are there, and he picks one of them and says, what will you do? If it was a wedding in a Muslim family. So we just wanted to know what can happen. And one of the singers says, this we do. And he takes that and makes it a loop, and it just built layers in front of your eyes. He's building the opening section completely. It was just stunning. And then we recorded it. And then after that, we did the first session, and then he came back and said, suppose we do the Nusrat kind of a thing as an interlude. And then I said, show me, what is it going to look like, Because it's like a Mapla song, okay, which is a Kerala Muslim song. And from there it goes into a melody, which is like a ghazal kind of a thing. And then there's Kawal that comes in. So he's able to blend different things into one song. He doesn't settle for it. So it's really a treat to see him work.
What about the visualization of it? Yeah. There's this sort of electric motion with which the song starts. It's just cut, 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 cut. And when you see something beautiful, I think our intuition is to stay with it. But you just keep moving away to more and more beauty. And even the way, I think, the way the song was shot, the way the camera keeps moving and all of these jarring movements happening, there's this disorientation that's being produced. When you're going on set, shooting this song, what is it that you're going on set with? Are these motions laid in stone? Are you just going, improvising on the go?
See, this is happening in a small village. Okay, there's a boat in which these girls come, get down. Okay, and it's a small village town kind of a place. It has no business to have a song with such huge pillars and a massive structure. So when you're going, you realize you're cheating. The first fraud that you're doing. But it's so beautiful that it kind of sets it so you say, okay, I'll take that liberty. But in the back of your mind, you know that it is not real. It is not, honest. But the song's got one abstract quality, so it lets you take that extra step to make it, homogeneous, and then it was, the choreography was done by Prabhudeva, but the execution was done by his father, with whom I worked from my first film, Sundar Master. So there was absolute grace with which he had done the choreography. And Manisha came that day for the shooting. She had a sty in her eye. First they shoot and she was there with us. And she says, okay, wait, don't panic. She went, did her makeup and came and she was fine and things like that. And it took her a little while to get used to the choreography, to the dance and things like that. And we have only that much time. We wanted it to look like a wedding, not just a song. So all the other activities had to happen. It should look like people are coming in, going out. There are people who are going to be taken for food. Everything else should, the rest of it should look, believable. And that song happens within that. That is why I think, it is not just the shooting of a dance, but shooting of a wedding. And, so that gives you a scene requirement is that. And the song is the addition. So you try to blend the two.
Abhishek, do you want to pick a scene or a song? No? Okay.
I'm in striking distance.
Shaad?
Hi guys.
Shaad, you're my friend.
So the first film I worked on was Dil Se, which was a mother of an album, and one song was topping the other visually, whether it was Chaiya, Satrangi, Dil Se Re. But my favorite song was Ajnabi, which was like the best melody. And we just didn't know how and what to shoot with it, and we used to shoot it in every schedule. So bits of it were shot in Ooty, of it were shot in Dalhousie, of it were shot in a studio, and so that was my favorite song. And what Rahman did with the song when we went to the final mix with the entire string section and the harmonies of the voices was just unbelievable. He just changed the whole song in the final mix, and it was the first time I saw a full song from its first tune to being final mix, and it just brought tears to my eyes with just the amount of craft he put in just a mix. And when it came out, that time everyone was complaining that it was underwhelming and we didn't shoot it well enough, but I think Sir did a great job of just handling it right to get the love story. And Shah Rukh's whole energy when he's trying to describe him when he met Manisha for the first time and she's listening to it on the radio and all that was just beautiful, I thought. And that studio that Samida had created in Noida, in the film city that we worked in. And with that was a great scene also, which was in the All India Radio, which we had cheated in a studio with this doors flapping in and out, and Manisha and Shah Rukh are stuck in that, and they're just whispering. And it was that whole setup, and that whole All India Radio bit had a lot of nostalgia and a retro quality even then. And even now, when you see it, it's very, very rich in its visual, and both the audio is just together comes across really well. So for me, that's the best part that I have been part of so far. And I've been part of many, many, many great songs, great scenes, but that one stands out for me.
But what?
40 years I've been making movies.
30 years I've been...
But when you have this album, Anisa, which is Hindi lyrics, not just Hindi lyrics written by Gulzar. It's a different kind of Hindi altogether. What is your relationship then with the song, with meaning? Do you sit with it? Are you okay with just the tune of it? Do you want to know exactly what it means? Because there are all of these funny stories from Dil Se where you would ask people on your crew what the song means, but they wouldn't know. So then they would call other lyricists to get it translated because it's Gulzar's Hindi, it's not just Hindi. So what is your relationship to an album when the lyrics are foreign?
When you don't know Hindi, the other Hindi doesn't matter to me. It's all the same. So, but when he comes down there for the recording, he gives you a clear idea of what it is. And I think we had a very good rapport, in the sense I didn't want it to be literal, and didn't want whatever we are shooting to become the lyrics. The story is anyway being showed in a different pattern, and the lyrics should be a layer above or below, in that sense. And he was very happy with the brief. He says, "You're the only one who's asked me for abstract lyrics." So I think it suited both of us. And but it gives you a lot of visuals, because he writes images. It is not just an emotion. He also writes images, and that triggers a lot of inputs for you when you're shooting the song. And I think it was a pleasure to work with him. It was really a wonderful experience. And then I had all these Hindi experts next to me. I'm not saying you are.
Shiva?
Actually, I'll select two songs, and neither of the one I was part of, and they were before my time. There is this song you would have seen in Nayakan, and I think that one song has created more directors than most film institutes. It's New Kadal Sangeetham, and it's a song in a film about identity and power, and it features two nameless people lost in a metro. And the story is full of violence and jostling for space. But the song is a really touching, soft, romantic melody. And it's a film with a superstar, and he doesn't sing or dance. So everything is pretty, contradictory, the way it's brought into the film. And that kind of takes the film to another level. When the song ends, you've lived their life with them, and suddenly you are part of the world. But I'm choosing another song, which you will see tomorrow, because I think Nayakan was made by a director who was going to achieve greatness, but I'm going to choose a movie made by an established master from Iruvar. There is this song, Pookodi in Punnagai. It's shot in a film set. I think it's pure magic. It has these two characters who are struggling a bit in life, like all of us, mildly depressed like us, and still finding a way to fall in love in the middle of all the chaos around them. And you see this as a tribute to Guru Dutt or Vijay Ananth or Sridhar, and you also see the little bit of doffing of the hat to Greg Tolan and Orson Welles, and you see a small thank you note to Sen Nyquist also. And I think it's a love letter to cinema. There is story in it, there is emotion, there is visual magic. I think it's amongst us very best songs, probably the best. If you ask me today, tomorrow I may choose a different one, but I think it's probably the song of the 20th century for me.
That's actually an interesting song to pick because it's one of those great moments in your filmography where you're actually bringing in the world, which is fantasy, into your sort of realistic cinema. Can you talk about your relationship to realism? Because there's something escapist about cinema inherently, right? But at the same time, when you came in, the language that you brought into cinema, which is what excited so many filmmakers, was of a kind of realism that is also comfortable with fantasy, but it's still real, right? Like the way you just spoke right now about, you're walking, it's a village, where will these big pillar sets be there? So there's a sort of trade-off between realism and fraudulence, or realism and fantasy. Can you talk about that tension? And have you been able to resolve it over your filmography?
No, I think there have been masters who have done realistic films, before, and who've all, Chambenegal, Girish Karnad and Ray and Nalsen and Gatak. They've been masters which are really outstanding work, and it influences you quite a bit, when you see Art Satya, you cannot get it out of your mind. It is such a strong impact that it creates, and it is real, 100% real. I'm making films in the mainstream. I have no qualms about it, but it doesn't mean the mainstream cinema should be devoid of realism. It should be devoid of logic. It need not be, So it can bring in the same thing. I think just telling a story in a colorful manner, not necessarily a grim manner, doesn't mean that you have to take away what is believable. I think it only enhances the storytelling and makes people identify, and people are getting more and more exposed to cinema, to realistic cinema. So I thought it can coexist. And there have been people before me who have done that a lot, Vijay Ananth has that, Guru Dutt does it, and in Tamil there have been a whole lot of people who have done mainstream cinema but with a lot of sensibilities, So that was the route that I was trying to take.
Vijay, finally.
It's it's very difficult for me to choose a scene or a song with them. So I'm actually gonna go into something different. So there is this scene in, I think it's a very iconic scene, one of my favorite Mani Sir films, which we are going to show tomorrow, by the way. It's Iruvar. It's a very iconic scene, and it's a heavily discussed scene between Prakash Raj and Tabu. And it's, yeah, it's the scene that we spoke about earlier. And it's, you can't call it a, it's a lover expressing his love for this woman, and it's a poem, it's a ballad, it's so much more. It's written like a scene, it's written like a, but it plays out almost like a song, and it's got this melodic rhythm to the way he says it, and of course there's Rahman sir's background score on top of that, and then Santosh's cinematography of that one circular shot which just keeps going, and both these actors just bringing their A game and just killing it in that scene. It's a beautiful one take scene. I always used to wonder in the writing of it only, whether it was conceived as a song, whether it was conceived as a scene, or whether it was, because it's not traditionally a song. It's not. In fact, I don't think it was there in the album also initially. It was released later in the initial Iruvar album. I'm not sure whether it was part of it. So I used to always wonder about that, whether it was initially conceived as a scene, or whether it's always thought of as almost like a ballad, which it eventually is. So, and if I'm not mistaken, the first recording was done by Arvind Swamy. Arvind Swamy recorded that piece, which it still is. It still is. So that I used to always wonder about, and in all these years, I think I have not really gathered the courage to speak to him about this particular thing. So I guess now I can because I'm on revenge mode. So. And since I'm asking, I'm going to ask one more thing, because I recently rewatched Thalapthy on the big screen, and by the way, very bad print they released, so I'm very pissed off about that. But Thalapthy has this famous breakup scene, which the famous breakup scene, and the moment he tells her to leave and she walks away, I think it's the first time that I've seen a scene where when the background score kicks in, the entire crowd just erupted. I've not really seen that in a movie. You see the crowd respond to songs and everything, but that background score, when that kicked in, the crowd just erupted. That's the impact that scene has had over the years. So, but again, what I was thinking about is that when you shot that scene, because there is this long pause, there is this silence that happens when she walks away, and you're staying on Rajnikant sir and the famous iconic shot with the sun in the background. So there's that pause. So when you're shooting that scene, was that already conceived? Did you think that you're going to be playing a piece of score there? So these are, I guess, two things I always wanted to ask him. Many more moments, many more songs I would want to ask, but yeah, right now I think I'll stop at 2.
I asked him the same question 3 hours ago.
Shut up, really?
Same question.
Yeah, 3.
You didn't get an answer.
No, with Iruvar, it was, the character is a Tamil scholar. He's a poet. He writes. He's the writer who's going to turn into a politician. So there's always that flavor that he writes for films. The earlier part that he wrote with Mohanlal being the actor had a song. I had a thing which was not shot like a song. Which was not recorded like a song, but more like verses. So that is because at that point of time, the flavor of Tamil was completely rediscovered by this new Dravidian movement. Poetry started coming in, rhymes became very important. They all, emerged with Tamil as their, forefront. So it was already an integral part of it. It is, the film finishes also again with the poetry of him. So poetry was a part of the entire thing, and we wanted to do poetry as a poetry, but with Rahman being, layering that. So that was the thing. And the shooting of that, between Tabu and this one, I thought of it completely differently. And when that day Tabu came in, she was not well. So we had thought I don't fully remember, but it was an elaborate, the poetry, like a graffiti, the poetry written across the wall, and when he comes in, up the stairs, and that is how it leads to this scene. It was a slightly elaborate, thing evoking till it lands into this scene. The staging was different completely. So we couldn't. We had one night. We had to finish it, and so we decided to do it in a single shot, and that becomes. So we are looking at a camera on top. The camera on top means don't have an equipment to do it. There is an old, 1950s equipment in one studio, which I've used before, which is blind. You fix the camera and you turn. When you're on top and trying to turn, it's completely blind. You don't see, you don't have a monitor, nothing. Santosh can't see the frame. So we just bend, fix it up, and then we just have to rotate. With the music, he has to be, and he's sitting on top, and these two people are there on the ground, and they're this one, and the drops of sweat starts falling. So it was not that I had conceived the entire thing in my mind. It was just we had restrictions, and we had to find a way out of it. And but it turned out perfect. Sometimes those accidents are very useful. You can't even check it. You can't check it. What we do is when we stop, that frame you can check. The opening frame you can check, the last frame you check. Yeah, and it's a rectangle thing that it turns this way, so it's B. So that's how it happened.
So, but this verses that you spoke about, and that it was the Dravidian movement. So were these kind of verses done in films back then, like these kind of songs? Can I call them songs in the previous, like when
not strictly this way. No, this was taken from a poetry which Vairmuthu had already written.
Okay.
So it was published in a book, and from that we had taken this piece.
Okay. Thalapthy, sir.
Still get the answer. 3 घंटे हो गए.
Yeah, Thalapthy was, that was one of the earlier scenes we shot with Rajnikant. He was still, maybe first 3-4 days of his shooting. So he was still he was not too sure what we were doing. He was very uncomfortable, or he was not too sure what is it that these people want. So it, and at that time it refers to a character when he says, "What do you want? You want a fair-skinned man? Go get lost. You want him to speak English? Go get lost." Something like that was. At that time we had not even cast Arvind by then. We had nobody. That third person was missing altogether. But we still had to shoot. And Ilayaraja always told me that, ask me, you can never make a film without music, is it? Why do you leave so much gaps? So it was, we didn't have specifically a song, but it was a theme song. It was their love song, which became the orchestra piece. And it was a moment where you can't, close very fast. It has to linger, it has to be there, and you have to have a courage to hold on to it. And then you know that Ilayaraja will take care.
So that linger was intentional. That was a...
Yeah, you thought it was accident?
No.
Sir, was Sundari already recorded or afterwards?
Yeah, it was recorded.
So it was probably playing in...
Also, no, nothing. Where sun was going, where do you play?
There's so many stories about that sun. Oh, yeah. Oh.
Revenge mode. First, just to expand on a happy accident, I remember we were... what was the location where we shot the younger portion of Guru?
Turkey.
Badami.
Okay.
Badami in May. Yeah, it was Turkey originally. And I remember one day we were staying in a guest house, and it was a day off, and Mani came and said, "Oh, Brinda's there, go rehearse, we're doing a song." So I said, we're not meant to be doing a song. We're shooting Guru Kant Desai's younger portions. So I went down and Brinda Master standing there looking totally flummoxed. So I realized he's thrown one of his googlies. So I looked at her, I said, what? She said, do. I said, do what? This is the track. Rahman has sent a track in the morning. What is the track? Click, 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 click. I'm like, this is just the... And suddenly Bappi Das singing, Ek Lo Ek Muft. I said, where is the music? There's no music. Rahman has sent the track, shoot, 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 shoot. So the first 2 days of that song, we've shot on a click track. Because he's just sent how this guy is going to be singing. And I'm like, but what? But I'm still young. He was giving me 2 months to put on weight. All that. I said, no. So at night, I still remember in the balconies of the guest house.
The bodysuit.
Yeah. Amira and Aishwarya were stitching the kambals and made a fat suit for me because I had not put on my weight. And then they took some really shady grey stuff and put it in my hair. And he's like, shave your head. I'm like, but we're still shooting the younger portion, all this. And I'm shooting to a click track. And cut to, by the time Aishwarya's one beautiful dance section, by then the music had arrived. Right. And she takes off and I'm like, what's going on? And you know, when I said, this is crazy. I still have a photograph. I have to show you. Rajeev took this photograph of Ash in front of the camera with her fan and like a light meter which has 60 degrees Celsius. Because you remember how hot it was? It was summer and we're shooting in these stone caves. And if you see that song again, you'll actually see some of the dancers' shoes, the rubber melt off onto the stone. And because the way he shot it, the background was burning out, so they had put Dino lights in front of us.
Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah.
And I'm in a kambal suit to a click track. But Aishwarya's part has come with full orchestration and everything. So these happy accidents, and when we saw it, obviously you couldn't. I want to ask you something else, since we've just seen the film. You all were here for the screening of Raavan just now? So, what prompted you... No, that we know what prompted you. Why did you take that decision to cut out the 10 heads?
Do you want to give context?
Oh, okay. So you all saw the end credits? There were those different portraits of me, right? So he had this concept that Raavan has 10 different personalities. So they actually wrote 10 different characters. One was a warrior, which is blackface, red tilak. And there was a poet, there was a philosopher, there was a comedian, there was a joker, there was death. So those are the different visuals you show. And whenever he had to think of something, suddenly these 10 heads would come out. And they'd all be saying different things to him. That's why if you see, he's always doing that, saying, get out of my head. And whichever was the last one to go, he'd become that. So that chaka 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 was meant to be the knife that the warrior with the urimi, right? All that kind of stuff. So, and Shaad just reminded me of it, so... deflected there, so you can just... But, I mean, I thought it was quite cool. And, I mean, it was very tough to shoot because, I mean, he's very relentless until he doesn't get... Yeah, we were all getting cut also. But why did you decide that, okay, we don't need this? Or this does not belong in the film? It's not adding to the film? Because as actors, we're very selfish and, you know, you've done... But why did you...
Sometimes you think you got a great idea, you know, you think it is this. I mean, we are really going to explore this element of, you know, multiple in a very literal fashion, in a very... But once you put it all together and in the flow, this one was always standing out. As a flow, it was just a little, in your face. Yeah, it was in your face. So, and I was certain that though, I mean, sometimes if that is the thought that you have in your mind, it would come out anyway. You know, it need not literally have the, Because I think in the film, it went in a certain particular fashion, and suddenly this was like, calling too much attention to the mythology. Whereas the rest of it looked like it could be happening today at somewhere in some corner. Other than the fact that we called it Raavan, it could be any story, that is happening in any part of which an oppressed society. So that is why that we had to take it off. The great idea became not so great.
All right, on that note, so we're going to have the screening of Kannathil Muttamittal after this. So we want to evacuate first. Well, empty the room, not evacuate, really. I hope you join us tomorrow as well. Yeah?